of course, we all know Google. We use Google every day for a lot of different purposes, whether it's searching the internet, doing basic web searches, or Google Maps. There's a lot of different ways, that Google has become part of our lives. And we probably already use it for searching names and information, doing our genealogy research. However, there's more to just Google than you may realize. We all use google.com, but if you're limiting yourself to just that internet search on Google, you might be missing some important clues. So we're going to talk about some of these other ways that you can use Google to find clues in your research. And of course, many of us have used Google Books, and that's books.google.com. And Google Books is used to search information in books, and you can search over 25% of the world's book titles through Google Books. That's more than 40 million books are available there. Now, some of these books are in copyright, and so you have to, they'll give you an opportunity to purchase it, maybe from Amazon or another one of the book vendors that's there, or you might be able to find that book in the library, a local library, or get it on library loan so you can read the book there. But many of these books are out of copyright. And if they're out of copyright, you will likely be able to read them online and on Google Books. And you can download these as ebooks so you can carry them around with you. And you can build up your own library of books. And once you've done that, you can highlight and tab and bookmark those books for your research. Many of the things that you'll probably find in Google Books are those local histories and biographical sketches. During the late 19th century and early 20th century, a lot of county histories were published. And those county histories, a lot of times they had biographies of the people who lived in those counties, the prominent representatives of those counties. And you can go in and find great bits of information. For example, here is, a biography about Washington Snyder. He was in Gibson Township in Mercer County, Ohio. Mercer County, Ohio is one of the areas that I do a lot of my research in. And so it gives birth dates. It tells you where they lived. It talks about their children, where the children were born, his spouse, when he died, what his career was. And it also includes a nice photograph of the family. And so you can utilize that information in adding to your memories on Family Search or in your genealogy software. And, right here, I've got a good 4 paragraphs of information about him. Now, of course, you have to corroborate all of that information. You can't just, say, well, it was written in a book, so it's all correct. But this gives you a great starting point to learn more about that ancestor. Google Books also has some yearbooks that can be really helpful. So here's an example of Princeton University's alumni books. And this is talking about the class of 1895. So they had alumni books that I've been able to find from 1897, 1903, and 1905. And think about what genealogical information or what stories you might be able to see while you're reading through these articles. Another place to look in Google is the Google Scholar collection, and this is scholar.google.com. And this searches full texts of scholarly literature across the wide variety of disciplines. So this is going in and looking at the published scholarly literature. Google Patents also has some great information. So you can just look at patents.google.com, and this is a collection of US patents. And so I can type in a person's name. And so my family is Westerheide, but there's a component of my family that dropped the last E and just go by Westerheide. And so this is a patent that was issued in 1975 for Robert Westerheide, who's a distant cousin of mine. And this is for foam insulation of oil and gas pipelines in cold environments. So this patent was utilized on the Alaska pipeline. And so I can read all about the patent, the importance of that patent, and finding more information. All I did was go into the Google Patents and I typed in a last name and looked up that information. We've been able to find family members who have invented gurneys and lift machines and have other patents in the United States and in England and other places, all by finding them on the Google Patents website. And then there's Google Images. And I'm sure most of you have used Google Images in the past. This is a large collection of images from all over the internet. And you can utilize it to get images of places, people, and events. You just go into images.google.com. And the map that I've got here is a historic map of the town of Forsheim in Baden in Germany. And this is a map of the town that my wife's ancestors came from. And what's really great about it is the major buildings are all labeled, and at the bottom of the map is the information about what the buildings were. So, was it a church? Was it a monastery? Was it a mill, or whatever it might be? And that information is laid out in the bottom so you can get a good idea of what was in that town. And then, of course, we have Google Maps. And, many of us utilize Google Maps to place our ancestors in context with their surroundings. How close they lived to various landmarks. How far from town were they? What was the nearest cemetery? What was the nearest church? Where would they have gone to school? What was the transportation like? Was it a trail? Was it a river? Were there roads? We can also utilize it to trace migration patterns. And it takes a few steps to do this, but you can get a map like this, which is one of my wife's ancestors who migrated from Dayton, Ohio to Oregon. And then his son left Oregon and migrated to Florida. So the roundabout way from Ohio to Florida. And all you have to do is pull your documents together, build a small timeline, the dates of the documents, the location where they were at in those documents. It could be a county, a town. It can be a latitude and longitude. It could just be a state if you don't have any more information than that. But all of that information then can be added in and added to the maps. And then, you can put a column in there about what the record type was. Was it a state census, a US census, a marriage record, a tax record, or land claim, or something like that? You can add links to the records if you want. So you can click on those links and see the actual documents and so on. And all you have to do is build that in a Google Sheet. And it's pretty quick and easy to do that. Well, once you've created that Google Sheet with all of your data in it, you can then import it into Google Maps. So you click on the little menu bar in Google Maps and you can create your own maps here. And so there'll be a tab that you can click that says Your Places. You click on that, and then at the bottom of that, it says Create Maps. Once you hit that Create Maps, then you can add your layers. And it's going to ask you, where is your layer? And you just tell it it's a Google Sheet. And then it imports that information in and then creates the maps that you can use.